Hey everyone, today I've got a bit of a review for you. Review slash me just unboxing it and showing it off. And hopefully it's alright. And it's not that. It's that. Let me get that out of the way. That's a treat for later. So this is hopefully going to improve the quality of my videos. It is the Nagnahz NA-U800 LBT LED floodlight for hopefully improving the evening recordings of these videos, because that's when I do most of these videos. At the moment I've got a light it comes down from the top, as you can see by the shadow, and I've got the bench lights, which also need replacing because they're half dead. And they come in from behind. Now if you look, if I'm trying to show my hand, for example, the front of the hand gets shadowed, so any object I'm looking at gets shadowed and not really visible from here. So what I need is a good light to come in from this direction, and hopefully this is going to do the job. Let's get into it. So it comes in the box. In the box we have... Okay. I've already opened it, but I had to make sure the batteries were charged. Being lithium batteries, I didn't want them to die or anything. So in the box we get a battery charger, which is powered by USB. We also have the AC adapter. Unfortunately, I end up with the wrong plug for New Zealand. I have an adapter, but I think I'm just going to cut this off and stick one of our plugs on it. There was no option. I suppose I could have sent a message to them, having purchased from AliExpress, but there was no option to choose the power cable. So, I mean, a nice touch would be that they see where they're sending it to and pick it that way. But I think if you don't message them, it's just luck of the draw. So we got that. It does come with a tripod. So let's have a look at the tripod. So the tripod, it's going to be a basic run-of-the-mill tripod, I'd imagine. Looking at that, that's not too bad. It's got metal legs. It's got metal up the center tube there. Now, it is just riveted together, so if you use it a lot, rivets can flog out a bit, so maybe not the best hinge design, but a cheap way to produce it. There we go, it's going to flop out like that, and it gives quite a, you can adjust, so you can tighten the bottom there, but give it a good pull. I suppose it gives a bit of there you go. Whether you pull it all the way down or not, I don't know. But nice wide spread for stability. Okay, what have we got next? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 sections for height adjustment. So it's supposed to be 160 tall, I believe, 160 centimeters tall. Section 1, 2, 3, and now we're starting to get up there. 4. Well, that's going to be far too tall for anything I'm doing, so that's good. I could have possibly gone for the shorter one. Bench height, I'm probably only going to need down to the first 3. I may not need to move the top one up, so we can leave that there because of the height. It's about the height of the camera there, so they'll be looking down. Yeah. Now, how strong is this? There's not much weight to the light itself. I don't believe it's fairly lightweight, so those clamps are locking that in nicely. It's not going to slide down on you. There's also, we've got a tilt tilt adjustment there. You can lock that in with a screw adjustment, and then there's and we can screw that on there. What have we got here though? It did come with this other little pack. So this looks like, can we not just screw that directly on there? That gives you another range of motion. That's interesting. So surely that would screw directly onto the light itself. We shall find out. Oh, that's a first. The camera just freaked out and said it couldn't access the SD card. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. Here is the light itself. So this is the 60 watt version. It's not stamped on there, but this is the LED U800 Plus. I believe it is sold under a couple of different stickers. There's a intensity control on the back, as well as a color control from blue all the way up to yellow or warm white. Might just pull that off and put that more central. Yeah, there's a bit of a battery indicator and on-off switch. I believe position 2 is for the DC in. Now, this is going to be a perfect example. Well, it won't really, because I can't shine a light on this on itself. But you can see, look, you can see how dark it is on this side, and how you can't really see a huge amount of detail. But anyway, I've got the camera set at plus 2/3 exposure, which doesn't help anything for a grainy image. If we were to go down to 0, that's at 0 standard exposure there. We'll run with 2/3 for now. Comes with 2 batteries. They are the smaller of the bunch, I believe, at 2200 milliamp hour. It has these flaps on the front, which I guess are for deflecting or absorbing, I'm not too sure, the light, maybe to try and alter shadowing and whatnot. I'm not 100% sure. And the light panel itself is, what do we got for size there? 270 millimeters by 150 millimeters. So that's how big your panel is for this particular model. Of course, there's our screw mount at the bottom for the tripod. So let's have a play with putting it on the tripod. I'll fold those in so I don't snap them off. They're just a little plastic hinge there. There's a half cut out there. You can see the pin that they pivot on. Yeah, so if they did pop off, I guess they'd snap back on easy enough. So here's our tripod mount. Now we can see why they threw in the other adapter. If I just screw that on there, now if I just screw that onto there, I don't think I can. That doesn't feel good. It is tightening, it just felt a little loose. Okay, so I could screw that on there, and then the light could, you could point it down at whatever you're looking at. Wonder what is that? Is this a quick release? What's the point of this? Let's have a play with that perhaps. It might be. Well, actually, that ring screws up and down separately. So could that be some kind of hot shoe mount? Possibly. I don't have a camera with a hot shoe mount. I think that's what that might be. Yeah, I think that's what that might be because of the shape of that. Just thinking about when I have seen that kind of mount, I guess it would slide in and then you would tighten the ring down to lock it on, so it would fit most mounts of without having to conform to their specific locking mechanism, perhaps. Not too sure. And then anyway, this is pointing straight up, so this would have the panel straight on it and only tilting regardless. So absolutely we can screw it straight onto the stand as it is, and I think that's how I will be using it. And we can open it up it is a little bit. Oh, I will just tighten that. Stop it from flopping over. And that is going to be the sort of angle that I think I will need to aim at my work. Now, keeping in mind that if you have the weight of it in that plane and you have it sort of like that, it actually feels really top heavy. Like I can bump that and it wants to fall over. That's not the best. But what you can do, I suppose, is just make sure that the weight is rotated such that if we can rotate it, no, I can't rotate it. Wait, I need to rotate the, just loosen off that. Here we go. And that's not going to work either. Interesting. What if I were to face that way? That might work a bit better, although it doesn't really make any difference. Have it that way as well. It doesn't seem to matter what way you put it. Okay, so here we go. I could have it so it's facing in line with this front leg, so you think the weight of it would lean against it and make it more stable. But then it's perfectly opposite the back, although it does actually feel better anyway. Okay, so if I tilt that, I just noticed there's a thread in each end, so you can mount it in portrait mode as well. I did tighten the screw at the bottom there, in case the feet were sliding a little up and down, but it's not the greatest still, really. That's probably the best I'm going to be able to get it. And maybe I'll have it higher. It really depends on how well this thing throws light. Well, what are we waiting for? Why don't we turn it on? I was mistaken about the knobs on the back. Okay, so one of them controls the 3200K temperature, and the other controls the 5600K temperature, 3200 being more yellow and 5600 being more white, blue, whitey blue looking, so cooler effect. So let's turn up the 5600. Here we go. See that start to come on there, and that is about probably 1/3, I think. Let's see if we can come up to full brightness. There's full brightness, which probably doesn't mean a lot staring up into a camera. If I come up with the yellow 3200K, and it looks like the camera might be auto dimming to some degree there. So here is what I would normally be recording with plus 2/3 exposure, just to try and get some brightness into it. It's actually quite dark. I'm going to go back to 0 exposure correction. There we go. And as you can see, yeah, it's quite shadowed and whatnot. And now I will flick on the light, and this is going to be at full brightness. That makes quite a difference. Maybe I don't need full brightness. It is coming on at an angle like sort of that sort of angle there at the moment. Now, would I want it closer? No. Would I want it further back? I mean, it's still quite bright with it sitting further back, so it would be slightly behind me, which would actually work out well. And I could even lower this thing a bit, angled it up and lowered it down and you can see that that takes a bit more of the shadowing away. So if I raise it up and bring it down, there we go, and then I could tilt that up to be very, very direct. It's a cheap tripod. Those thumb screws are, you really got to tighten them to make sure it doesn't move. Right, so what happens if I swing the wings on the side of it? I suppose it kind of doesn't really have much effect. That's the bottom one coming up and down, that's the top one coming down and up. So it doesn't really need to be, I mean, I could leave them fully open, it wouldn't really make much difference, to be honest. Depends on how I'm going to bump into them if I move around in proximity to it. So that's at 100% cool white before I had both of them turned up. Bring in the warm white with it and turn down the cool white, so that's 100% warm white. Looks like maybe not as much brightness to it. It certainly gives more of a nighttime feel with, and that's at about, so that's off. So that's what I used to film with. So if we come up to sort of half even, that's a huge improvement, and then half on the other. There we go. I think having a bit of the 3200K mixed in there as well is advantageous, and certainly adds to the overall brightness as well. It is extra rows of LEDs on. I quite like the full, maybe slightly more white. However, this is on auto white balance anyway, so whatever's going on there. And yeah, I can only take their word for it that the color LEDs they used are correct. In that time frame, we have still 3 out of 3 battery lights, so that's promising, I suppose. I don't feel any warmth really coming off the unit. So this is how I have it at the moment, and it's a good probably meter or so off the bench, and I think it's giving quite a good effect there. If I were to sit closer to that, where I would normally have things, would my seating position in that respect have a great deal of effect on it? Well, not really. I don't think, with it in the spot that it's in, and if I were to be looking down on a workpiece like that, yeah, I think it's pretty good. So in a nutshell, that's my little setup there. You probably haven't seen it from that angle, but I think if I have the light roughly in that position, it's going to look much better than things used to. Be interesting to see this on full screen, actually, not the back of the camera, just to see curiosity. But I'm just hoping to avoid any granularity that may have been coming in darker settings, and having it at 0 exposure adjustment may help with that. Well, I hope you liked that little look at one of these cheap light units. I think it cost me around just over $100 all up. I can't remember exactly. And yeah, you can get bigger batteries for them. They go up in price substantially. I think the largest pack is about $60 per pack. We shall see how long they last. I'll definitely run it on a mains adapter. Perhaps the next thing I get is a lapel microphone, maybe get more consistency in my voice between camera and microscope recording, for example. But for now, this is the latest addition to the setup. If you like that, give it a thumbs up, and hopefully that might help you in deciding if you would like one for your own setup. If you're into recording stuff, again, here's with it turned off, and here's with it turned on. Here we go. Magnificent. Thanks for watching.